Today we're going to be looking at some basic functions of spline offset and extrusions in 3ds Max. If you don't have the plugin, you can go to the i2 software website and download it from there for free. It's got the free download and a bunch of basic tutorials as well on how to use it, and the download button's just here. So let's get started. I'm going to start off by just removing the grid in my viewports by clicking G. Then I'm going to start by drawing a basic line. So I'm just going to create a random shape, probably a hexagon. I'm going to close that as a spline. So now we have our basic shape to get started with. And now I'm going to make my way over to modify, and I'm going to type in spline offset just so it can bring it up a bit quicker. Hit enter, and now we have our spline offset. So the parallels refers to the amount of times that the offset repeats itself, so we can adjust that, and you can see it pushing more out the higher I make the number. The distance tab refers to the amount of space in between each offset, so we can push it in and out of the actual original spline, and the offset is how far off the original spline it actually starts. We can also adjust the rotation on an X, Y, Z axis as well. So once you adjust the value for each axis, you can see it skews the actual offsets into different directions. So what we can do is we can create a really odd shape here like this. It creates a bit more of a flow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert it again back to the outside of the shape, and we can see it there creating a fall from the top and bottom. I'm just going to reset these to 0 so that we can experiment with the translation. So this will skew the offset a little bit more on a flat plane, so you can see that on the X and the Y axis as I adjust them. They're moving up and down mainly, so when I do the Z axis it creates a more of a mountain type shape because it pushes all the splines down, so creating a drape. I want to have a look into the bevel and end type, but this will be a little bit easier with a basic spline. So I'm just going to draw a spline now, not a closed shape like we just did before. Move that one a little bit further across. So now that we've made a separate spline, what we can do is we can do the same thing. We can do a spline offset, and that's going to create this kind of shape. So you'll notice that the actual offset itself looks a little bit different because we don't have a closed shape and it's now creating one. So if we scroll down to bevel and change to chamfer, it adjusts the edges. If we change it to round, it adjusts them again to a rounded shape, so I think we'll keep that one. If we change the end type to closed polygon, it'll alter the shape like this. Closed line reverts back to this, open butt goes to this type of shape, open square to this shape, and open round to this shape. So you can experiment with all the different kinds of end types to get the shape that you want. I want to experiment with more of a 3D style as well, like we did earlier, but with this spline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the top and manipulate the translation Z-axis. You can see it's a little bit laggy, so I might have to turn down the parallels so that it's not as heavy. So I'll just turn that down a little bit, and then I'm going to manipulate the Z-axis a little bit easier this time. So I'll push those spline offsets upward. And now I'll go back to the top and I'll put the parallels back up again because it loads a bit faster this way. As you can see, we've got more of an upward shape. What I'm going to type in now is extrude, and what this is going to do is this is going to create a solid form in between the spline offsets. So now we can see 3ds Max has generated a pink form in between each spline offset, creating a solid material. So this here can create a bit more of a form of the actual shape that we were trying to achieve, which you can see here. So now I want to try it with something else. So what I want to do is I want to put some text in. So I'm going to select text, and I'm going to just write my name. So I'll just write Jordan in capitals. Now that we've got that, I'm just going to move that over a little bit, and we're going to experiment with another feature in spline offset. So I'm going to go back to modify, spline offset, and I'm going to put that in. So now you'll notice that the splines and the parallels are actually overlapping, and we can't really tell that it's text anymore. It just looks like it's a bunch of lines over the top of one another. So there is a way to fix this. We can still do the modification of the rotation and translation, so we'll just have a look at that and see how that looks, get it to a shape that we want, add some more parallels, and then what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down and we're going to check the box for heel interacting splines. So this is going to automatically tidy all the splines up, so we can see that now that we can see the original Jordan text and there's no overlapping splines anymore. So now I'm just going to get it to the shape that I want before we extrude it, so I'll do this now. And then I'm going to go up to extrude, and there we go, we've got our form for our text as well. So we can do live editing of the spline offset, switch the layers on and off. So as I add more parallels, you can see it's adding more and adding more extrusions as well. So it keeps all of the modifications updated live as you change one or another and if they affect the other. So now we are here with our final shape, and we can see all of our other ones next to each other to show how we can use spline offset and extrusion in conjunction with one another. There's a lot of other ways that you can use these tools as well, but these are just some basics to get started.